Hi, I'm Bob Ethington.
And I'm Nicholis.
And this is From Akron and Beyond. Hello there, everybody. Hope you're all doing well out there. How are you, Nick?
Oh, fine. How you doing?
Well, very good, very good. And I'm very excited.
Another fun show.
We have a great guest today who has all... What's the phrase? Irons in the fire, something like that.
Oh, you got a crap load of stuff going on.
Yeah. This guy
always
dazed and confused. Maybe.
This is a guy who is always busy and with very interesting stuff. So we're very happy to have him on. Our guest is Thomas Mulready. Hi there, Thomas.
Hey, Bob.
Tom.
Hey, Nick.
Hey,
yeah,
buddy.
I'm so happy to be here.
And if the name doesn't ring an immediate bell, Thomas is affiliated with Cool Cleveland. And
Which is a...
Well, what is it? Explain it.
Yeah,
Thomas.
that's a good question. Yeah. Thank you guys.
blog, right?
Well,
No, not a blog. Beyond a blog.
It's actually a weekly email.
Weekly
okay?
email.
And not only does the email come out every Wednesday since 2002.
Really?
So
That
you
long?
do the math.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. And it's just cool stuff going on for the next 7 days. Mm-hmm. But then we also have a website.
Right.
We do a lot of video. You know, it was out of my frustration when Cirque du Soleil was in town in 2002 in the fall. And I ran into some of those young artists from all over the world, you know.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
they were here for like a week because they were doing this thing where they built a tent and they stayed for like, a long time. And I was like, how do you like Cleveland? They were like, it sucks. It's boring. I'm like, what? Like, I had been involved in a lot of projects. Maybe we'll talk about some of that, leading up to that. And I was like, well, you just don't know who the cool people are. And, so I sent them a little email. And that was our first issue of Cool Cleveland, really. And I was like, here's 5 or 6 things going on.
Yeah.
And the next week, I told my arts friends, and they were like, oh, if you do that again, I got a show coming up,
Right.
I got an exhibition, can you put me in? And then I started talking to some people who were in the business world because I had been in business. Management Recruiters International ran their internet department for years.
Oh, wow.
And I had been at National City Bank as a senior VP of e-commerce strategy. So
Really?
I knew sort of corporate people as well as people in the arts. And I thought they're not going to be into this. I was covering all the kind of alternative, underground, cool stuff. They loved it. And they hadn't seen anything like it. Remember, this was the day they'd come up to me in '02 and be like, do I need an email address to get this? And it was like, yes, it's an email.
Yeah, right.
Well, some of us are still there, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say Nick would have that question today. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it also, I think Cool Cleveland has filled a role that is increasingly needed, which is that so much legacy media has gone away.
Oh, yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
people are always wondering what's going on, and
From a reliable source, if
Yeah,
I
yeah,
could,
yeah. All
okay?
that, right.
Instead of just from you don't know what kind of algorithm or AI nowadays is putting stuff out,
Yeah.
and you don't
Good point,
trust
yeah.
it. People just don't trust, these sources. They're getting bombarded, but they don't know. We still hand curate. Dozens every week, cool events. We know the artists, by the way. Anastasia Pantsios is our editor, okay?
Right, really?
You know her
Yeah,
because she's been on the scene for decades
Long
as
time.
a photographer, as a writer, as an editor. We know who the people are. We know the bands they were in before the band they're in now.
Right.
And so when we put stuff out, you can trust that it's legit.
Right,
And we
right.
know our stuff.
Right.
And we also shoot our own videos, our own photos. I mean, I've done probably 2,000 interviews, video interviews that are up on YouTube. And they're almost all local. I mean, we do have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, so occasionally, Alice Cooper, or just did we did Chubby Checker a few years ago. He just got in the Rock Hall,
Yeah.
It's under the Cool Cleveland.
But it's all Cool Cleveland,
Cool.
Yeah, and it's
That's
all
how
up
they
on
search for it,
on our YouTube, channel.
Right.
And then we put those in the weekly email and spread them out. So, but I can't stress how, as time has gone on, you're right, it was like when we came in, it was the big Akron Beacon Journal was massive, the Plain Dealer was massive.
Right.
They didn't even really appreciate the online at all at first.
Right, no.
I really wanted to partner with them because they weren't doing much online, and they were like, nah, we're kind of the thing and the only thing, and it was like, nah, I don't know, it's going to always be like that, you know?
Right.
But at least you knew who to trust back then. You
Right.
knew it was legit. You
It was
had the
vetted,
TV, you
yes.
had radio, you had print. And as that has all kind of faded and other sources have come up, and these billionaires with their social media platforms that just really don't care at all about local. See, that's the thing that gets me. I mean, yes, connect us and et cetera, but they're just pushing corporate sponsorship, corporate products, events, big touring, whoever coming through. Who cares, honestly?
Right.
Do they really need our promotion? No.
Yeah.
So we were just talking to Ryan Humbert out in the lobby here. That's the kind of artist that we cover, what Nick does and what you're doing, Bob.
Yeah.
How did it go with the Golems, the Red Plants?
It was very successful. We had our first show a week or so ago, and packed house, and we actually managed to play the songs without any meltdown. So it was very. Thanks for asking.
Congratulations.
The cool thing about it too was actually sold out.
Oh, isn't that
beautiful?
Sweet? Isn't that beautiful?
Standing room only.
Isn't that nice?
It was cool. But
good for you.
But anyway, getting back to our guest, and it's what's also nice is that you kind of collate this stuff. So it's one place that people can go to find out about these different shows.
True.
Because, yes, we have like infinite ways of communicating, but then you're also getting bombarded with every single band and every single gallery, every single club throwing stuff at you. And it's kind of nice to have one place you can go that kind of has the sensibilities of this particular, these activities, bands, what have you, and it's all in one place. So it's great work that you do, Thomas.
Thank you.
Well, like people like me that still have no clue, you get on it. Is there some way you just press subscribe or
go to the front page, put your email address in, you're done. You get one email a week. That's all we do on Wednesday.
That's good.
But the website increasingly has more and more robust content as well. We came up with the idea of these cool neighborhoods.
Right.
Like you got Highland Square, or you got Ohio City or whatever it is.
Sure.
And local. So we put up permanent local shops, boutiques, record stores.
Right.
And if there's at least a dozen in a neighborhood, restaurants, it's an easy one, then we'll put up a cool neighborhood. We thought we'd have 5, 6, 7 in the region. We got like 35 or something,
nice. Okay.
And you
Wow.
can search on those.
Yeah.
You can search on boutiques. You can search on all the record stores.
Right.
Every record store in the region. And by the way, we go all the way out. We consider our region to be Youngstown, Akron, Canton, Oberlin, Sandusky,
So a wide range.
Cleveland,
Yeah.
Lake County, all the way up to the Pennsylvania line. Anything that's not Toledo, Pittsburgh, or Columbus is what we call cool Cleveland. And I know when I come to Akron, I just want to apologize for that name because
that's okay.
it tends to trigger people.
Cleveland battlefield.
Especially
here,
your former mayor was really I think made his career on Cleveland bashing, But I have been coming for years, decades now, honestly, and covering all the cool artists you have here. And again, we follow what you guys do, what Harvey does, what you guys are doing, Nick. And we consider the strength that being that this is a region. We're in a global economy here.
Yeah. Right.
I did the math last night because I thought, wow, what if Cleveland and Akron, Summit and Cuyahoga were one metro area, which I believe it is.
Right.
Do you know? Because we're something like even Cleveland. I don't know, what are we like? The 27th, 30th, something largest city in the country. Do you realize what we would be if we had joined Cuyahoga and Summit as one metro area? We would be 5th largest in the country.
Wow, really?
Yes.
That's amazing.
And I think we need to think of ourselves
That's
that
a
way.
great man.
We really need to think of ourselves as being that impactful, not just huge in numbers, okay, but we have the legacy here too, Okay, we've got the history.
Right.
We're talking about music. You guys are doing, like you said, an archive almost of the history of what's going on and the Akron sound and the pride that we have. But we also have the technology. We also have the cutting edge, universities here. We've got young people here. People are moving in now after decades of out-migration.
We have water.
We have fresh water here, right?
And that's a big deal.
And we do. And we've got culture here, okay? We have culture that if you travel, and we just traveled, we're over in Europe, and I'm telling you, this town and this region is incomparable in terms of the quality, the level of world-class culture that we have, as well as the cutting-edge stuff. See, that's the difference. You might have a big museum in a town, but do you really have a scene?
Right.
Like Las Vegas.
I mean, Peru couldn't have come from anywhere else but here.
Well, correct. I mean, maybe Detroit, okay?
Yeah, maybe. That's dirty enough, I guess.
Right?
It's gritty enough, yeah.
Yeah. But you're right. That's like, we've got so much of that, and yet other places that are bigger, that get more respect, down south, out west, they don't have the legacy. They don't have the culture. They don't have these institutions, and they don't have the young people creating these
There's
scenes.
always been an inferiority complex about
for no reason.
Cleveland area
It's
for
time
whatever
to get
reason.
over that.
Yeah.
I think the new generation of young people don't have that inferiority complex, by the way. A lot of them don't know the river burned, okay? Or if they do, they
Or
just
don't
name
care.
a beer after it or something,
yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Right? Right? So I think it's time for us to just sort of move on and consider ourselves our region, a powerful region, here, especially culturally.
So speaking of the region, let's get a little more personal with you, Tom.
Yeah.
So where are you from originally?
Born in Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah, my family's from New York. We were just back there visiting, and my dad had to start working at the age of 15 when his father passed away in Brooklyn. Okay, they'd give him a quarter, and he'd get on the subway at age 15 and deliver cans of ink, and then keep 5 cents for lunch, and
Yeah, wow.
And then he moved out to Nashville, and then, which I'm sure he had no idea where it was, because you go to Brooklyn in the 50s, and no, that was the whole world.
Right.
Okay.
Sure.
He knew Coney Island. He knew where that was.
Right.
But Nashville, and I still am wondering, why did he even take this move? It was so far, and all the family, and they're still there. They're all my family's still in Brooklyn.
Really?
Then to Michigan, Grand Rapids, where my sister and I were born. And then about age 5, I said, we got to move to Cleveland. It's cool there. And my folks said, okay, let's go.
Really? Oh, that's
this
funny.
This is the legend, Nick. We'll print the legend here, but
But this has been our region since for a long, long time.
And so you are a Clevelander then?
Absolutely.
Officially. Okay.
Yeah.
And so
but what's interesting is we moved to Parma for a while. 5 years we looked for a house. My mom could not make up her mind. Every Sunday after church, we would go look at houses, and my sister and I were like, this one's okay, please. Just buy this one.
Yeah.
And then we moved Broadview Heights, which butts right up to Summit County. Okay, we spent half our time at Blossom or at the Coliseum. Okay, we'd come down to the bank.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You'd come down because we weren't far. We were as far from Akron as we were from downtown Cleveland.
Right,
okay.
right.
So kind of growing up, we really felt like we were, and maybe that's why I have such a regional orientation.
Sure.
And physically, logistically, that's where we landed.
Right. So, okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So, I'm pausing here because I'm trying to wrap my head around. It sounds like your life has been very varied. I mean, so I mean, you've worked in corporate world.
I did. I had to think about where to go to college because I wanted to be a writer like James Joyce. That's who really inspired me. And I realized I'd get
not
a degree.
ambitious at all.
Well, you got to shoot high. And I thought, what is a degree in writing going to do? Here's your degree. Go write your novel. I didn't need that degree to write.
Right.
So I wanted a school that had a creative writing program. And at the time, Bowling Green was one of 5 schools that had a master's degree in creative writing. Only 5. There was Iowa. There was a couple others.
Yeah.
But I thought, well, if I get a business degree, I could change it out for a job,
Right,
you know,
yeah, right,
which I did the minute I graduated. Campbell's Soup
No
and
kidding.
ended up staying in Toledo area when we graduated because Ron Goldfarb was in our band, and he's still in the region. Goldfarb Weber, he does video production. He's a musician. He was still going to school.
Okay.
And I was actually, I don't know if you know Chris Burgess from Beat Farm Studios, and they had their record label and everything. But
So
he
you were
was,
playing in a band at
I was
this
in a
time.
band in college. We met
Okay.
in advertising class.
What was the band called?
That band was called The Clean.
Okay.
And looking at photos back then, I have no idea why we would have called ourselves that, but
You weren't particularly clean.
no, I don't think so. But I did get a job at Campbell's Soup up there in Toledo, and then came back to the Cleveland area and got a job with Vicks Vapor Rub.
No
Oh,
kidding.
okay.
Okay, all the time, living this sort of schizophrenic lifestyle
Yeah.
of playing in bands.
Right.
And like you, a drummer, but not taking it. I didn't ever want to go in the industry. We were just talking with your engineer about the studio here, and I was a DJ at school at Bowling Green.
Yeah.
And on the AM and the FM, and I realized, I looked into it, but even then in the 70s, radio was changing. It was becoming corporate, you know? It was Arbitron was coming in. They were
Sure.
starting to do ratings, you know.
Oh, yeah.
We grew up on WMMS, which I
Yeah.
think a lot of
We
us
sure as hell
did
did.
in this region.
Yeah.
Were you wearing an MMS T-shirt on your album cover?
No.
Hold on.
No.
What is that? That
Buzz, a record
was a
store in
record store.
Columbus, Ohio. Buzzard's Nest.
that's okay. I thought it said Buzzard. I'm thinking.
A cool. That's where I got all my.
We thought we had Nick nailed here. With
So I got all my Kevin Ayers imports.
Right, exactly. There was such great music we were raised on.
Yeah.
And I saw this corporate stuff coming in
Yeah.
the 70s. And I thought, I do not want to get in this industry. I don't want to do what we have to do. And then MTV came very
Right.
quickly, 1980.
Right.
And it was like, oh, so if there's a girl in the band, or if you're going to dress up like a weirdo or something, you know.
became very much about the visuals and if you
It
were
was.
attractive enough. Right.
Right. But it wasn't so much about the music.
We used to always say that people like Janis Joplin would never have made it in
Correct.
the 80s because she was too homely.
Yeah.
You know?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it was so I didn't ever want to go into music full time. I wanted to do have a career and do the music I wanted to do.
Right. Yeah.
Because you go into it full time, you're doing whatever it takes to get a gig. For
Yeah.
example,
A
you
lot
have
of
to
people
do
we have on this show that they're still doing it. In such a late age, they're still doing the same thing because
Yeah.
they love the music.
just doing the music.
Yeah.
And I've always done it that way, you know. So I did that for a few years. We spent a year in Toledo doing nothing with this band.
It's also been a regular theme of our show, just by chance, about how radio has changed and how if you were of a certain age, which we all are, radio was such a huge formative thing because it was so liberating and free at that time in terms of the formatting. And now, outside of something like the Summit, basically the formats are so locked in that, you know, it's not the same anymore at all.
Yeah, what a treasure we have here.
We
I mean,
were
still,
fortunate. Fortunate.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you're playing in bands and you're working
Yeah.
for Campbell Soup and for Vicks Vapor Rub.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
And then,
I took a trip to Europe.
okay.
This was the life changer. I went with
Okay.
a buddy, London, Berlin, Paris, rented a car.
when did this be, Tom?
This was like 1982, 3, 4-ish. The Berlin Wall was still up, you know.
Yeah.
I came back still working for Vicks, and I wanted to move to Europe. And I was due for a promotion. And I knew they had an office in Paris. And they were like, you're dreaming. We're never going to promote you and transfer you to Paris, you know. So I had to quit. And Carol and I, before we were married, she quit her job as well. She was a graphic designer and had her own business, very successful. And we had saved up like $5,000.
Wow.
And we bought a one-way ticket to Paris, bought a car outside of Paris, and stayed until the money ran out.
Okay.
So we got very good at saving money, which has been a great godsend for musicians
Right.
and
No
artists
kidding, yeah.
since then. And spent like 9 months just traveling around Europe.
Really?
You
Wow.
know, and experiencing who we were and what we wanted to do. And I had brought some of my
That's
poems.
like a dream. That's a dream thing.
It was kind of a dream, and it was a
Yeah.
good time to do it in your 20s, I think.
Sure.
I brought some of my music on cassette. We did a poetry reading at Shakespeare and Company
Oh, wow.
in Paris, if you
I'm
know.
a very big Hemingway guy, and so, in fact, no one cares about this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I just reread for like the 5th time The Sun Also Rises.
Isn't that amazing?
And
I love that.
because it's the 100th anniversary of that book is this year.
yes.
And it's so evocative of you reminding me of this when you were saying that you were going to Paris.
I was
and you were
on that
traveling.
Hemingway trail. I was reading his letters. I was reading every biography. Okay.
Yeah.
And Shakespeare and Company published James Joyce's Ulysses.
Sure,
so for
right.
me, it was full circle.
Right,
And if you were living there, not if you were traveling, but if you were living, you could do a poetry reading at Shakespeare and Company. And I was like, oh, I'm doing it. So I did a poetry reading. But my poems had multiple voices. So it was more like a theater thing, if you will. So we had to print up these. I had a battery-powered typewriter. It was like a proto-laptop. And we printed out these
Never
little
heard of
books.
such a
Carol's
thing.
a graphic designer. She's designing these little books. We handed them out at the poetry reading. And so the poem would start with you, Nick, and then you'd say a line, and then Bob, you'd say a line, and I would say a line.
Okay.
And then I had my boombox, and I'm playing some of my music.
So it's very
And
theatrical.
It was,
Yeah.
what I didn't realize till I got back to the States, it's called performance art.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it opened my whole mind to, wow, what's going on? And I started working with video at the time, which you had to rent a video camera
Yeah, right.
in order to do that.
Yeah. Big bulky things.
Yes, and go to public access stations to get time and learn how to do editing way before it was available.
Yeah.
It's so cool now you can do these things on your phone, and which
Yeah,
is
sure.
why I've done 2,000 videos. It's so easy now.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But at the time, it was like, okay, I started doing video, and I built this like pyramid of television sets, and I would put my video of my head on the television set talking to me live while I was on the stage, and it
Yeah.
was back and forth.
Yeah.
There was this, I would call it Tom Mulready, within and without television.
Okay.
And it was like a performance art piece.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
And I put it on in various places in the region, and I was doing it at Ball and Wallace College at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And who shows up but James Levin?
Oh, really?
He
Wow.
was just getting Cleveland Public Theater started at
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
And he came out of New York, La Mama, very avant-garde theater.
Right.
But this was another level. Mm-hmm. Okay? I was doing things like, and I've got some clips here that we can show, but I was doing this thing called Hammering the Universe, for example.
Okay.
I wore a lavalier mic, and I had 2 of those small, tiny hammers. And I would go around a room. I would be banging, and the mic would be picking it up.
Right.
And I'd go through the room and just sort of experiment with, like, what does this sound like? Ooh, this is wood. Ooh, this is metal. Ooh, this is glass. And so I was doing stuff that I think was the right thing at the right time for Cleveland Public Theater. They had just gotten started. All of a sudden, we're catching on, and James decided, he convinced me to start a festival there of performance art. And that was the Cleveland Performance Art Festival. The second year, we were lucky enough to have people like Peter Lewis from Progressive Insurance in the region who were very interested in avant-garde music and also wanted to kind of stick it to the establishment, So anything that was outrageous or controversial, he would fund it.
Okay.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I would pick up the phone, I remember this once, and I called his office. And this was back when you could do this. He picks the phone up, Peter Lewis, and I'm thinking, okay, I got like 30 seconds here, And I said, we got this artist, because we started bringing artists in from all over the world. Mm-hmm. So I got this artist from Germany. He's a fire artist. He set the Berlin Wall on fire. He set Wall Street on fire. We want to bring him into Cleveland to set the Cuyahoga River on fire. And I wait on the phone, and he's like, send me something. So we hang up, and do you remember when we used to use messenger service to send stuff across town?
Right.
I bumped this little VHS video together of this artist who's just fabulous. If you saw this work, you couldn't believe the kind of work he was doing. And I messengered it over to Peter Lewis. I call him back later that day at like 4:30. He picks up again. And I'm like, did you get my package? He goes, yeah, I got it. He goes, we'll do something. He hangs up. He sent us a $5,000 check. Didn't have to write an application.
Wow.
Okay. So he ended up funding this performance art festival. along with the Ohio Arts Council and eventually the National Endowment for the Arts. But we really picked up because we were doing stuff that was outrageous, it was controversial, but it was also sexy. And it was to me, it was sort of the next phase of where rock and roll should have gone,
right,
and where it kind of has gone now. I think if you watch any of these big spectacles these artists are doing these days, there's so much performance art involved.
Right,
okay,
yeah.
honestly, they have learned a lot.
I'm going to David Byrne this Thursday, so hopefully we'll see some of that.
Okay, perfect crossover, right, of performance art and music and rock and roll.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we did that festival for 13 years.
Oh, man.
Okay, we presented over 1,000 artists from 23 countries. And we videotaped it all because I was obsessed with video again and documentation. All of those videos, all of those 1,500, I don't know what it is, boxes, okay, of files are at Case Western Reserve University in their archives, the Calvin Smith Library, searchable by journalists or by, researchers.
Right.
And so we were able to do.
So they've cataloged it all.
It's cataloged, but these were once in a lifetime events.
Sure.
That,
right.
and they weren't meant to be recorded. Some of them I had to erase the recordings. They were too personal. They were too illegal. Honestly, a lot of the work that we did we were so under the radar at the time. It's kind of safe to talk about it now.
Right. Yeah.
But, it's one thing to go in a club and do stuff where they're serving alcohol, where the bar owner just really doesn't want to lose their license.
Yeah, sure.
Versus the stuff we were doing, like on the street, where, we had this artist from Bosnia come in. We were down at the old, where the old arcade is in downtown Cleveland? The Fifth Street arcades are across the street, this old arcade building, because nobody was using it. We got to use it for free.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we probably had 50 people at this performance. Takes his clothes off, paints his whole body white, picks up this big red star that he had made. It's like 6 feet by 6 feet. It's made out of canvas and wood. He puts it on his back, and he's like, follow me. And he can't even speak English. And so we go out on the street on Euclid Avenue. Okay, and he hands out 4 boom boxes. And 1, 2, 3, boom, we start him. So we got this quadraphonic sound system going, okay?
Yeah.
Surrounding him. And he hands out 4 torches. And we go marching down Euclid Avenue to Public Square, okay? And he would stop every once in a while and bend down and be real dramatic, and it's, totally naked. And we go through there's a gospel concert at Public Square. They're and they look over at us and they're like, what? And then a cop pulls up.
Oh.
A cop pulls right up next to us. Naked guy, painted white, torches, music blaring, big red star. And he looks for like a minute. We're looking at him. He's looking at us, and he just pulls off.
He didn't want to handle that one.
He's like, I don't want to do the paperwork on this, Then we go under the Lorraine Carnegie Bridge, okay? We had been there all day, our crew. We literally had cleared the people out that live there, which I feel bad about now, and we would have done it differently these days, honestly.
Yeah.
We would have made accommodations, and we would have raised some money. We would have done something.
Right.
But we brought a huge generator and a big 2,000-watt PA system down there. The artist came earlier and dug trenches, filled it with kerosene and gasoline, and now we're marching down the bridge with 50 people and all these torches. And he starts doing this performance with fire and this big red star that goes up. And all of a sudden, I see all the cop cars this time now. Like 20 cop cars. You see their lights, and they're down, and they are like blazing. They're grabbing their guns, and they're looking at this guy. And I had to rush over there with like the front page of the Plain Dealer because we had gotten written up. Like, no, it's legit. Look, we got National Endowment for the Arts. This is an art. Look, he's the only one naked. It's not a weird,
Did it work?
It worked. It worked. Well, he did. One cop took me and the artist into his car, took our names, and I went home that night and I said to Carol, they're taking evidence, to the prosecutor, and we'll find out tomorrow whether they think they have evidence for whatever crime they think, crimes
Right.
And we never heard from him. But there were so many things like that. I just picked that one out because it's so visual and it's so connected to the community.
Yeah.
But when you are doing work like that people don't have a vocabulary for.
Sure. Right.
They don't know how to process it. Again, that's what always excited me about rock and roll.
Were you
in
still
that
playing
period.
in bands back then?
I had quit rock and roll. I sold all 5 of my drum sets.
So you're always a drummer.
Always a drummer, sing, write. But I got fed up with the way I do this regularly. you know, rock and roll is dead.
Right. Sure.
It's never coming back, and you quit. And then a few years later, you're like, all right, I still like playing drums. Let's form a band, you know?
Right.
So I eventually did get back into bands. I was playing with Cats on Holiday for about 5 years, you know, and I've been playing with Vanity Crash now for about 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, we put an album out, and we've been doing shows.
You
a lot.
actually did one of those rock cruises with famous people.
We did.
Right? Yeah, just recently.
We did, yeah, because I think they got in touch with Greg Harris up at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and asked if he could recommend anyone. And Greg was a fan of our work when we do a David Bowie show, where we sort of look back at his life. And the one we're doing these days is how important Northeast Ohio was to his international career. This was the first stop on his first U.S. tour, as we all know.
Right.
And the point being, if it didn't go well, my saying is David Bowie would be about as well known in the U.S. as Mark Bolan. No offense to T-Rex and Mark Bolan.
Right. Yeah.
But nowhere's near the level of acceptance and reverence now for David Bowie. And I think Cleveland does, and Akron and this whole region, because they got behind it because of the MMS. And we had Billy Bass come to our show, and Denny Sanders and Anastasia, that speak to how something as powerful as this radio station, Summit, can be to people's careers.
Sure. Right.
Now, back then, maybe more importantly, and Denny talks about this little sheet that the radio stations used to share. It was a typewritten thing of who are you playing?
Yeah.
Who are you pushing?
Right.
And they'd share it nationally. And the one time, I think David Spiro was in charge of putting the sheet together, and then you'd have your top 10 artists, and he put David Bowie. Like,
right.
And so out in L.A., they're like, what's going on? Because WMMS was one of the top, and it was a leader nationally.
Yeah.
And so they leveraged that, and they used their and so we celebrate these moments. And so
under Vanity Crash.
It's Vanity Crash, and we come in and we'll do some of the David Bowie stuff. But honestly, any of these shows that we do that look back at history, we also make sure to do 50% original material.
Okay, good.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I think that's important to keep that music alive and not just be nostalgic about all this.
And the music is inspired by Bowie in this case?
Absolutely. When you hear the way we do a Bowie song and then we do one of our originals, you're like, I get it. I see, obviously.
Right.
So yeah, we got invited to perform on this Caribbean cruise with Foreigner and Dave Mason and War.
Dave Mason just passed away.
Yeah. It was an amazing, Ambrosia was on there, and England Dan and John Ford Coley, and it was a
eclectic group.
Eclectic leans more to the yacht rock ish.
Yeah.
Soft rock. Okay, they called it rock and romance.
Sure.
Cruise. We're more glam punk.
Yeah, right. It kind of stood out. Yeah, like those
but
others.
It went over really well.
Great.
And they loved it. And we do video, as I said, a lot of these shows that we still do. We will do interviews with people like a Billy Bass or a David Giffords, who knows the history.
Right.
And Nick, we've interviewed you, and you're going to be as part of our next show. And so we intersperse the video with the live music. It's like a documentary film with live music. I call it a docu-concert. This is a new term I just came up with.
Okay.
I don't know if it exists, but that's what we do.
I was going to say that your shows, the Vanity Crash shows, are... I hate to put it this way because it sounds not interesting, which is the opposite of what it is. But they're kind of educational.
I avoid that word too.
Yeah, but you don't want to use that word because it sounds like
it
homework.
Scares people off.
It sounds scary. But I mean, it's actually very fun. But you're providing a context for this music, which frankly, in with our culture so accelerated as it is now, and memories being so short, to present the music of a David Bowie, you can't assume
Correct.
that people really know.
Correct.
Oh, that's when he went to Berlin. Oh,
Yep.
this was his Philadelphia soul period. People
Right.
don't know this stuff,
No.
unless
Right.
you were our age and you were into it. Yeah.
And even then, maybe they were listening to Foreigner, back then.
Right,
So,
yeah.
honestly. So, we context and the curating are the two words that we kind of use.
Yeah.
Because you can't tell everything. We're trying to do a show on punk here coming up.
Yeah, but you're a hell of a curator, man. When I recently attended one of your shows about girls and punk, right?
Yeah.
What was the
Women
title?
Who Rock.
Yeah. But Women
Our
Who
Day
Rock.
Will Come.
Our Day
Northeast
Will-
Ohio Women Rock.
And it was fantastically curated, man.
Thank you. Yeah. And you can't talk about every single one.
No.
Okay.
Right.
And same with the punk scene or whatever we got here.
Sure.
And I'm really struggling with this one because you could do about 6 hours just on Akron alone. And then let's talk about Cleveland. And then let's talk about Kent.
Right.
And so the curating of who do we choose to talk about it? Who do we get to talk about that artist? What music do we play then?
Right.
And how do we still do 50% original music?
Right.
And not, because you could do a whole night of just tribute songs.
Sure.
And this whole idea of tribute is really bugging me. I mean, it was cool at first, I think, because it was something new. And for those of us who were so obsessed with this music, I remember seeing the first Genesis tribute band that used the original amps and the original slides. And, you know, it was like, wow. And if you squint, you feel like you could really be there.
It could be Peter Gabriel.
It could be, But it's gotten to the point where it's short-circuiting all our creativity and all these venues.
Yeah.
And
There's a lot of venues where there should be original bands playing music that now are
they don't have a
just
chance.
featuring bands that are doing these tribute shows that are,
Yes.
And yes, those are in and of themselves can be fun, but it's really become too dominant. It's strange, frankly, to me. It's really weird. When sometimes you look at lists of shows that are coming, and it's like, so is
90%
there any new music? Is it all from the 1970s now?
Right. Even young people, you know?
Yeah.
I counsel people, whether they listen or not, I say, figure out a way to do that because that's what sells. That's how you're going to get a gig these days if you do something along those lines.
Right.
But figure out a way to do your own originals and blend them in a way. People are not going to get up and walk out. They're really not.
Right.
You got to get past the bookers or the club owners or whoever because they think people are going to. But it's funny, at the end of the show, you know what people come up and say at the end? They're like, wow, great show on David Bowie or whoever that was, but I loved your original. I love this song.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're actually looking for. They don't want they can go home and listen to the record. Obviously, you can watch anything on YouTube now and concerts you missed back in the day, not just the ones you went to. But what they really want is, wow, that was something new. You took that and you twisted it, and I love that you took that vibe from this artist that we both love, and you went in this direction with it.
Yeah.
And even back in the day when you did a cover, back when it was original, the whole scene was original. It was, think how rare that was and how cool that scene was, where the clubs wanted you to do originals. You wouldn't think about going up there and doing a whole night. I mean, there was cover bands, but there was a whole bunch of original bands. And then when you picked a cover, if you were an original band, you were careful to pick the right one that said the right things, and you did it differently. You did it in your own style, and you did it better, if I can say that. You had to have something that was better. Why would you cover this song if you're not going to do it in a significantly different and better way?
Right. No, that was, when I was in Unit 5, we did mainly original material, but we did have half dozen or so cover tunes, and it's exactly what you were just saying. They were chosen carefully. They were songs that we loved, but we did them in our way. And and partially it was frankly simply to fill out our set, because in those days we'd play for 2 hours or whatever, and you had to fill out the set. But it was a different time, and in those days, bands that were that were the cover bands, they always had audiences because people would like to go and have, hear the hits or whatever. But,
it wasn't like it is now.
We always kind of looked like, side-eyed at those bands, like, who wants to do that? We're doing our original stuff.
Well,
And we were fortunate at that time to have venues that would feature original music. This is From Akron and Beyond. I'm Bob Ethington with Nick Nicholis. We are talking with Thomas Mulready of Cool Cleveland, Vanity Crash, and a lot of other things.
Yeah.
And I want to get to, before our time runs out, to a couple of shows that are related. They're kind of the same thing, but that you guys have coming up, both in Cleveland and in Akron, kind of featuring this whole regional thing.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us about that? It's the birth of punk in Northeast Ohio is the
birth of
title.
punk. That's a little bit of an audacious title. Was punk birthed here in Northeast Ohio, or was this really just the startings of punk in our region?
Right.
But I, like you, sort of have been aware that this region was very, very, very important in the formation of this, what I think was the most important innovation in rock and roll since the 50s, when it was invented, honestly. I think rock changed in the mid to late 70s when punk came in. It was both reinvented and reinvigorated.
Re-energized,
At the same time, it was turning away from the corporate stuff that we talked about earlier. They almost happened simultaneously.
Right.
And it was a reaction against, say, the disco era that had just been happening, a couple years. And it was sort of saying, you guys are missing the point. You're losing the plot here. Let's get back to 3 chords. Let's get back to not really needing to know how to play your instrument. If you don't, you'll figure it out. DIY.
I always refer back to famous club in New York, Studio 54. Right. And they were celebrating Bianca Jagger's birthday, and she rode across the stage on a white horse. Right.
Right.
And they're the Rolling Stones, the band that your parents never liked, and then here they are,
I know.
and
it was going
disco and Studio 54 and what the Stones had become.
We went to disco clubs because you had to. If you wanted to meet the opposite sex or you wanted to dance or have fun. So I have nothing against it. In fact, nowadays, our kids and new generations, they love the good stuff from all these eras.
Right.
They were good songs. They were just overplayed. Back then. And it's fresh now, and you can listen to them a lot easier.
Right.
But at the time, it was really saying something. And I know that this region, for whatever reason, and early on, with bands like Rocket from the Tombs and Peter Lochner and the stuff that was going on here with the Mothers Brothers, and you're talking about the Numbers Band, and how that was a spawning ground for
so many people,
both Devo and the Waitresses, and you've got Rocket from the Tombs splitting off into Pere Ubu and the Dead Boys, and it was happening here. Not only earlier, I think the point is we had a scene here. We had places like the Crypt and the Bank and JB's, and Peabody's Down Under. And there was a scene. The artists all knew each other. We supported each other, went out to each other's gigs. It was original. We were challenging each other to be better. Like you said, we looked side-eyed. This group of us looked side-eyed at the cover bands because we were on a mission to change music.
Right.
And we did it. And here's the thing. I'm so tired of New York stories, okay? Every goddamn movie. I'm sorry. Every damn movie, okay? Every band, all these stories, and L.A. And London. I'm sorry.
Right.
Our scene here in Northeast Ohio, and again, I'm including Akron, Kent, Cleveland. I think it's important to recognize that there were different things happening in each. Was just as important and just as early. And in fact, a lot of these bands, Chrissie Hynde went to London. She was ground zero. She pushed that scene. Okay, she could have been a member of the Sex Pistols. She came this close. I'm glad she didn't. Honestly, right? You got to be glad she didn't. But she wasn't just somebody who came from Ohio.
Right.
Okay? She went there with a mission, and she was creating that scene. The Dead Boys were one of the first punk bands to go to New York and really be that scene, okay? And be punk.
Right.
Nothing against Talking Heads, Blondie. Blondie was a surf disco kind of band.
Well,
I mean,
it's come up before that the four bands that are always associated with punk music in New York, Talking Heads, Blondie, Television,
Ramones,
and the Ramones,
and Patti Smith,
but like the Ramones were the only band of those that really you'd call a punk band. So it doesn't mean those were all great bands, but it was just as you're kind of hinting at, Tom. It's like because it's New York, somehow that gets this higher profile,
and it was a scene, and I give them credit for that scene.
Oh
the
yeah, they created a scene, sure.
And the Lower East Side, the Village. You know why? Because the same reason it was a scene here. Because the economy.
Right.
Because it was cheap. You could find rehearsal space.
Right.
You didn't have to work 80 hours a week like you do have to sometimes to earn a living. You had time to form a scene with your friends.
Yeah, and if you didn't mind the rats in the bathtub in the kitchen,
that's right.
You could live pretty cheap.
and like New York, we were like that here too. And so we had this scene, and so that's why we try to honor these bands, you know, Rubber City Rebels, the ones, you know, in the Akron sound that got signed. Bizarros, Nick, congratulations, man, carrying the flag. And by the way, this record that you did on Clone Records from Akron, right?
Yeah.
Bizarros and Rubber City Rebels, that you sent to New York?
I sent to Rob. Well, Dave Thomas or Peter Lochner from Perubu, when I went to visit them at Hidio's Disco Dome.
Right.
They were like workers. Yeah, they worked there. I told them, hey, I got this record, you know, and they told me who to send it to. And
Robert Christgau.
Yeah, I sent it to New York Rocker. I sent it to other places, but Christgau, and he responded right away. He gave it like a A minus as a
A
review.
minus because. What was missing? I don't know. It was damn cool. But then he comes to Akron.
Yeah,
right.
Stayed with me for a week and interviewed everybody.
Right, and all of a sudden Akron's on the map, and all of a sudden bands are getting signed, and that was a really
very exciting time.
Finally, it was sort of happening for the Midwest because honestly, that kind of thing never does happen. Right, it's flyover territory, whatever.
Right,
and so it was kind of nice in a grudging way because we're like, yeah, we know, we live here, we go out 4 times a week,
right.
You don't have to tell us this is a cool scene, and yet it's a validation, and it does help.
So these 2 shows that are coming up, we got the first one coming up on
depending on when this airs.
What are you looking at me for? You're the one who's going to be part of it.
Yeah, exactly. We got one on May 13th, which is a Wednesday at it's now the Beachland
Ballroom.
And then a week later on the 23rd at the Akron Civic Theater, the Night Stage, which is a beautiful venue that's attached to that.
And people could purchase tickets online at both venues, right?
Both venues, or go to vanitycrash.com and link through. And so we do have Nick, yourself, and the Bizarros.
Yeah.
We're so thrilled.
Oh, we're excited, man.
You know, to have you guys at this one. We've got the Mirrors, Jamie Klimek, very influential, who just passed away, but the rest of the band is going to be there in his honor. And he was one of those guys who was going to see the Velvet Underground every time they came through town and recording them on cassette. And those bootlegs became instrumental in the appreciation of the Velvet Underground and in them even becoming what they are now, because they weren't when they passed through here in this late 60s.
Oh, no.
Nobody knew who they were.
La Cave, right? That's where they played. Yeah.
And so Jamie was doing that, you know. Jamie was, you know, Peter Lochner was also so into Lou Reed, you know, and honored that whole scene. And so we'll have the Mirrors as well as the Bizarros. Massive Hot Dog Recall, Al Mothersbaugh, sort of channeling his 2 brothers from Devo, with a horn-based, a trombone-based, punk, ska.
Yeah, it's kind of ska thing.
It's the weirdest thing, you know. And I love his one-hit single, "Kick My Ass in the Balls," you know. And he'll do a Devo song.
Yeah, they're very fun.
Right? Yeah. And then the next generation, we got Patty No, women-led, Kristen Casale from Akron, okay? And so, again, it's important as we curate this that we have a variety of genres, of genders, of sounds, of ages, everything.
Right.
The Robert Kahn Band, which has Bill DiGidio, who was the original singer for the Pagans' first single.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Okay, Six and Change.
We're doing a show with him later on this summer at Jilly's.
That's right. That's going to be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Vanity Crash, and we have been working with Dennis Van Crash, our lead singer and leader and guitarist, who worked with the band Q Up in the 90s with Allison Garrigan, who is the lead singer and co-writer with Dennis of their stuff.
Okay.
And they also were part of that scene, which was goth and glam and punk. And she tells a story, which we'll hear, about how the punk scene was very open to women. All of a sudden, it wasn't, you didn't have to be, she called it the legs out in front, of the band. You now were a writer. They expected you to write, to sing your own voice, to be the lead singer, not a backup singer.
Right.
So
playing a tambourine in the back, right?
Exactly. Which it kind of still was in the 60s with all the hippies and all the, liberation and women's lib and everything happening. Women still weren't really out front until the punk era. Susie and the Banshees and, Patti Smith. You talk about the artists that inspired entire generations now of younger women. And we were just talking about Elliot Carter, and her band Off Leash, that used to be Detention, and how they looked to these artists. They were finally out front. And Allison Garrigan, who's going to be singing with us, and this sort of reformed Q Up, Vanity Crash. And so we're going to actually do a Unit 5 song.
Hey. Oh, you're the ones doing
No
it.
One's Girl. What a great song.
Well, very
Bob,
cool.
congratulations.
It's a great song, man.
This is a classic that should have been a #1 hit. Honestly,
well,
it is such a great song.
Yeah.
The way it's produced, the way it sounds, Tracy Thomas's vocals, your drumming, by the way, which I'm not going to copy it note for note if you come here. So beware, because we're going to make it our own.
Yeah,
right? As we talked about.
Yeah, I'm so proud. I actually produced that cut. I was at the studio. And I remember
Nick produced our album.
Yeah, but I remember coming up with the one vocal part where they were singing, had Tracy sing Rounds. She's no one's.
She's no one's.
And I love that song. Could have been a hit, man.
Yeah,
I swear. And so and again, it's a little later. It's more what you would call, I don't know, did you guys even have the word new wave to use back then?
Yeah,
or was that what it was?
Yeah.
And Tracy tells the story of how Jane Scott came down from the Plain Dealer, who was legendary woman journalist, who we honored in this last show. But all she could see in Tracy was, you look like Madonna, you sound like Debbie Harry, and it was funny even then that now that women are out front, how hard it is. And so these two shows that we've done, the women's show, a lot of that sort of punk energy, again, Detention or Off Leash is a punk band, and a lot of this crosses over, and you've got so many that came out of the punk era. That Chai Pig, another one, women-led punk.
They were way ahead of their time. The Poor Girls before that,
and the Poor Girls,
a total female band. So these shows are going to be really elaborate. Like they're kind of multimedia.
Oh, you should.
I mean, with video clips and then live music.
Yeah.
It's going to be.
It's a full production.
It's a super cool thing. Yeah.
The cool
won't
thing,
believe how good it is.
Yeah.
The stage at the night stage, they have this 16-foot wide LED video screen that's more than 12 feet tall. So when a person stands in front of it, they're not even halfway up this screen, and it's so bright that they have to turn it down to 50% because they could put this screen outdoors at noon in the middle of summer and you'd be able to see it like a TV set. Indoors in the dark, they have it turned way down and it's still bright as hell, and it's such a cool venue.
And the sound system is so great.
And to be in that space, honestly, and over here on the wall, they've got this huge picture of Chrissy Hine. Over here, they've got a huge picture of Devo. Over here, it's Ruby and the Romantics, right? It's like they prepared the space for our show.
It's beautiful.
And both of these shows are so perfect.
Looking forward to this, man.
And you guys have such a a pride here in Akron, I have to say, stronger really than Cleveland does for when it comes to this. I think you've got books on the Akron Sound, Calvin Ridebaum. You've got people like David Giffels who are really articulate on this and written books at Devo. And you can speak to it. A lot of the guests you've had on this podcast are very articulate on the history of it here. And not that we're not in Cleveland
Unlike
either.
us.
What do you say about we have a face for radio?
But your guests are very articulate.
Right, yes.
Hell with us.
I mean, they are in Cleveland as well. Yeah. It's just that it's almost an industry down here, honestly.
Yeah.
Well,
if you're not dead, play.
Yeah. Right.
Isn't that
Phil Hoffman's documentary?
Hoffman's,
yeah,
that 2-part documentary.
So we're running out of time. But I just want to say, so these shows, which involve live music, as you have heard, videos, and a bunch of special guests, it's going to be both events are going to be terrific. I'm definitely going to be at the one here in Akron,
yes,
for sure. But on May 13th is at the Beachland
Tavern,
Beachland Tavern, and that's in Cleveland, of course, on Waterloo Road. And then on May 23rd at the Night Stage, right downtown Akron. What time are these shows?
Both at 8.
At 8 o'clock?
8 o'clock.
Okay, and so...
but come early, because we have so much material. I have learned that I start those video things... while people are getting seated.
Oh, that's a good move,
and
yeah.
some people catch on, and they're like, shh, because everybody wants to talk and socialize. They're like, wait. This is, what are they talking about? So if they come a little early, you get more show for the money.
Okay, sounds good.
And there's merch tables.
Each band is going to be having their
own merch. Of course, Nick has to be.
That's how bands survive.
He'll be selling a sofa and,
I hope so.
some tires.
Whatever I can find. Well, thank you. What a great show, man. Thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you so much for what you guys do. Honestly, I just have to thank you for this podcast and for both of you as musicians. I'm in awe, honestly, being in the room with you guys, because
thank you.
I listen to you through my stereo. You know what that's like when you hear the music through the stereo. It becomes like, ooh, legendary, and then you get to meet people. And I've met, like I said, my share of important people in music, and you guys, the fact that you're still doing this, that you're still, when you could be moving on and doing whatever, and you're both still playing.
Moving on to the home.
With our casually with our walkers.
Moving very slowly on.
But thank you, man.
No, we really appreciate that, Thomas.
Thank
you so much. So our guest has been Thomas Mulready. Check out Cool Cleveland and Vanity Crash, and check out these shows that are coming up in a couple weeks. This has been From Akron and Beyond with Nicholis. I'm Bob Ethington. Thank you so much.
So long.
Thank you.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Emily Dickinson took a lot of notes, but what she did with them, nobody knows. She put them in a drawer and put the lock on tight. Said I ain't gonna take them out till Friday night. Friday night, Saturday morning, with Emily Dickinson. Emily Dickinson. Emily Dickinson was a real wild girl. She'd think about anything in the world. She wrote it all down and stuck it out of sight. And said I ain't gonna whip it out till Friday night. Friday night, Saturday morning, with Emily Dickinson. Emily Dickinson. Well, write it down, girl. Dickinson took a lot of notes. She put it took me, but she said no. Emily Dickinson said that she was hot, but a one-night stand was all she got. Friday night, Saturday morning.